Welcome to Fermented Files. I'm Karolis.
I'm also Carlos. And I'm Rue. Rue! Welcome to the Christmas episode. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. It's gonna be such a delightful Christmas episode.
Very family friendly, I assume.
No, yeah, kinda. A few trigger warnings. There will be some references to violence and abuse.
What?
And general potentially disturbing themes.
What?
I know, right? So, today we're gonna explore a story that blurs the lines between faith and madness, science and the supernatural. The tragic case of Anneliese Michel. Do you know her?
Yes, of course. There's movies around her.
Yeah.
I Am a Legion and We Are Many or whatever it is. She fucking walked with Judas, she walked with Jesus, and then she's the Legion or whatever, yeah.
She is the queen of exorcisms.
So that's Emily Rose, right? We know her as Emily
The movie,
Rose.
yeah. It's called
Yeah.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Girl, the story. I first heard of it when I was like 16. I had we went to like an exchange in Poland or whatever. And this dude, my bestie at the time that I just met, was like, "Do you want to know a paranormal story?" But it was like midnight. And I was like, "Okay, yeah." And then we went to a computer. And then he showed me the pictures of her,
Yeah.
and then told me the story, and I think let me listen to the the audios. Literally, the fear is to this day stuck with me. Like, that was the most shook I've ever been, so I'm really excited to.
I'm so glad to to have the story with you, and we will listen to the tapes.
Yay!
We will have great time.
Wee! Oh, great PTSD. Shout out to Lucas if you're listening.
Shout out to you. Follow us and I don't know, do something.
Do something.
Okay, so our story begins in 1970s West Germany, a nation that is still grappling with the shadows of its recent past and the stuff that happened in the 60s. In this culturally conservative environment, the Catholic Church still held significant sway, particularly in rural areas like Bavaria. A time of religious fanatism, yet at the same time of great scientific evolution. We already have some demons here. It would prove to be a deadly combination that would eventually determine the life and death of a young woman named Anneliese Michel. I think that's how I should pronounce it. Michel. Something like that. Sorry if I'm butchering the name. This period in Germany also saw an increased reporting in suspected demonic possessions with the release of The Exorcist in 1971 and the release of the movie 1973, creating a type of possession fever. These dates are kind of important because the story is happening at the same time, and we will see there are some discussions whether it's impacted it or not. Mm-hmm. But let's go back to Michelle's life before all the bad stuff happened. She was born on September 21st, so she is...
Borderline Virgo, borderline Libra.
Exactly.
Literally.
In 1952, in the small Bavarian town of Leipzig. Again, I'm sorry for the pronunciations of
Say that again?
Leipzig. I'm sure. Leipzig?
Leipzig? Yeah, good. I'm a small German boy from Leipzig. Sorry.
She grew up in a family deeply rooted in the strict Catholic tradition, obviously, with a strong emphasis of piety, guilt, and atonement over personal freedom. Her family, especially her mother, was known for their devoutness and adherence to Catholic dogma. When Anneliese was young, they would attend Mass twice a week, not even once. Her father was described as emotionally distant, and suppressed his emotions, which he also imposed within the family. Her mother Anna was very superstitious, believing in things like curses and the evil eye. These beliefs would later significantly influence the interpretation of Anneliese's condition. She had several sisters. One of her sisters sadly died when she was 8 years old. The family resided in Klingenberg, a town with its history of newcomers carrying with them various beliefs, including sometimes curses.
Ooh. Ooh.
By the autumn of 1968, the life of Anneliese started to take a problematic turn. She had some sort of fit at school where she passed out and seemed to go into some sort of trance. That night, she was partially paralyzed. She had difficulty breathing. She felt tightness in her chest, and finally, she urinated on herself in bed.
Oh no.
A year later, she had a similar episode. These initial episodes were marked by sudden onset and equally sudden remission, not typical for many neurological conditions. These episodes heralded a series of health issues of Anneliese, which, coupled with the religious beliefs of her family, set the stage for the tragic events that followed. After these episodes, her mother took her to a family physician. Oh, I love these names. Dr. Vogt, I guess,
This is good.
who, after an examination, referred Anneliese to a neurologist by the name of Dr. Siegfried Ludwig. Based on the description of the seizures alone, Anneliese was diagnosed as suffering from temporal lobe epilepsy, although an EEG did not show any abnormalities in the brain waves at that time.
What's an EEG?
I know how it's done, I don't know how to describe
How's it done?
It's you put stuff on brainies.
Oh, the little thingamajigs. The receptors or whatever
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
called. Okay.
and they check your brain activity, waves, stuff like that.
Electromagnetical erogenous. Gangbang.
Electroencephalogram.
Okay, but they need to have the word phallus in that.
She was prescribed medicines, including Dilantin. This drug, though effective for her seizures, had its own share of side effects like headache, nausea, vomiting, dizziness, drowsiness, tremor, and confusion. These could also have worsened her symptoms and further distress her. Interestingly, even when her doctors had prescribed medication, her mother remained more worried about what the church people would say than her daughter's health.
Cancel the mother.
Oh, yeah. At around this time, she also developed pneumonia and tuberculosis and was sent to a sanatorium in February of 1970, where she had another seizure. Following a fourth seizure, an EEG showed abnormal wave patterns, and she was again diagnosed as having epilepsy. These early medical consultations tend to underscore the effort to provide a purely physical cause for the symptoms. In following episodes, Anneliese started to report grimacing faces and periods of euphoria, which she related to her religious beliefs. Her personality was altered when she returned home. Frequent and intense outbursts of anger beset her. Voices told her that she would rot in hell. She became averse to religious objects and sacred places. Meanwhile, she became more interested in Christian
Literature.
and was convinced that her suffering was serving a greater spiritual purpose, such as keeping others from hell. These experiences further point to a possible intertwining of neurological issues with unfolding psychotic symptoms and profound spiritual interpretation of her suffering. Furthermore, suspicion was raised that Anneliese may have suffered from schizophrenia, as reported by hearing knocking sound at night, but her sister also reported hearing the same sounds. These symptoms began to align with the beliefs of her mother and others who believed that she was possessed. Anneliese's family became convinced she was possessed by demons. As medical treatments failed to elevate Anneliese's suffering, her family, deeply entrenched in their religious beliefs, began to interpret her condition as demonic possession. The concept of the ability of an envious person to turn envy into a curse was part of the belief system. They consulted several priests who refused to perform exorcism and advised her to continue mental health care, which sounds kind of good
Yeah.
because, as I'll mention later on, but at that time it wasn't necessary to go to the medical field, I guess, to get checked before the exorcism. Now it's usually they refer you first go to the doctors, and then if nobody can help you, then we do the exorcism. As far as I know, I'm not a professor on this, but
You will be.
however, Annaliese's condition worsened. She was throwing things, growling, drinking her own urine, self-inflicting
Bear Grylls.
injuries, and claiming to see demons. Her behavior became increasingly erratic and her physical health was deteriorating. This prompted her family to seek more drastic solutions, and the idea of demonic influence became their dominant explanation. By 1974, her hallucinations became more frequent and intense, and the line between fantasy and reality was blurred. It was at this time that the priest named Ernst Alt approached Bishop Joseph Stangl for permission to perform an exorcism. Sorry for the names.
Stangl?
Stangl. I think it should sound something like that. Father Alt claimed to be psychic and telepathic and had the special ability to determine whether a person was possessed by a demon, which is interesting. Father Alt was also influenced by the book The Exorcist, published in 71, and the movie of the same name in 73. Permission was eventually granted, and Father Alt, along with another priest named Arnold Rance, were assigned to conduct the exorcisms. Father Rance was characterized as intelligent but naive. The decision marked a complete turn from medical intervention to a purely spiritual one, based on the belief of the family and the firm conviction of the priests.
Hello, priest.
The first exorcism, a minor one, teeny tiny,
Teeny tiny baby.
was performed on August 3rd, 1975. Finally, permission was granted for a great big one. And the first of those occurred on September 24th in 75.
Just after her birthday.
Yeah, just 3 days after her birthday. Over the next 10 months, they conducted 67 rituals, sometimes one or two a week, with each session lasting as long as 4 hours. In these sessions, it is said that Anneliese would talk with the priests, showing at one moment fear and at another reluctance, and at other moments showing complete conviction that she was suffering in order to become a, quote, great saint. The sessions, conducted by the priests, with the cooperation of Annaliese's parents, were recorded and became the most important evidence at the trial. A family friend, Tia Hein, also recorded the exorcisms. Let's listen to that, shall we?
No. Can we not? I literally still have it in my head, so I'm just gonna.
Okay. That's all.
Thank you.
In the exorcisms, Anneliese would be tied down and would speak in various voices, which the priests and her family said were the demons speaking through her. The demons named themselves as Lucifer, Cain, Judas, Nero, and Hitler. There was also a local priest named Fleischmann, who was known to be a womanizing drunkard that once killed a man by beating. The priest believed his soul was also possessing Anneliese. The priests believed that these demons spoke Latin, and because of this, they used it as evidence of her possession. However, Anneliese had studied Latin and Roman culture, which may have explained her speaking Latin phrases. What is interesting is that the priests at no time believed that their story particularly about the priest in their midst, was actually their invention or interpretation of events. It's as if the priests were never taught or didn't know what the Catholic faith actually teaches about possession. It seemed as though they had been using the story of a priest Ernst All wishing to publicize an quote possessed local campaign. The content of the demon's speech often reflected the anxieties of the time, including fear about the decline of traditional Catholicism and influence of modernism. The demons often spoke about obedience to the Pope, the importance of the Rosary, the dangers of a world without God, and the need for priests to remain celibate. The so-called demons also voiced opinions on the message of Fatima and the encyclical Humanae Vitae. It's some sort of book written by one of the popes. As far as I understand, that time was very controversial with new teachings in the church.
Mm.
These statements highlight the cultural and religious background of the possession narrative. As everything dragged on, Anneliese's physical health began to decline. She contracted pneumonia, knee injuries from basically kneeling down in the exorcism, bruises on her arms, wrists, and hands, and blackened eyes. She refused to eat, and at the end of the exorcisms, she weighed only 68 pounds, which is like 30 kilograms.
Skinny legend.
So skinny. all, all that and lack of medical care took a severe toll on her. The priests in Paris stopped communicating with mental health doctors. The focus shifted entirely to spiritual intervention, neglecting her physical and mental needs. Anneliese did not want medical treatment, as she believed prayer was the only thing that would help. The desperation and suffering are palpable in notes she wrote where she expresses fear and hopelessness. On July 1st, 1976, sadly, Anneliese Michel died due to malnutrition and dehydration. She was just 23 years old. The local physician refused to issue a certificate of death by natural causes. Anneliese's body was gaunt, dehydrated, and bruised all over. Her case of neglect and abuse demonstrates the evils of foregoing medical attention in favor of a religious ritual. So, the case drew widespread public interest and called into question the meeting point of faith, mental health, and the ethics of religious interference. Both priests Ernst All and Arnold Renz, along with Anneliese's parents, Joseph and Anna Michel, were charged on counts of negligent homicide. The trial started in March 1978 and was highly publicized. The prosecution stated that Anneliese was suffering from grave medical conditions that were left untreated. Clinicians testified that Anneliese was not possessed by a demon, but that her epilepsy combined with her strict religious beliefs made it seem as though she was possessed. The defense presented tape recordings of the exorcism sessions and claimed that the tapes featured demons arguing. They argued that Anneliese had the right to refuse medical treatment. It should be noted by the defense also that there was not much anonymity from those treatment providers as to what was going on with Anneliese, and in reality, no one actually knew what was going on. Also, Dr. Richard Roth, who was consulted several weeks before her death, both sworn and unsworn statements at the trial that did not correspond to the truth. His perjury was pointed out by Father Alt. The defense was also attempted to turn Anneliese's case into part of spiritual battle. Set against each other were the narratives of medical science versus religious explanation. Ultimately, the host said that all four defendants were found guilty of manslaughter resulting from negligence and sentenced to 6 months in jail,
Wow.
though the sentence was later suspended and they ended up serving 3 years of probation. The court ruled that they were all guilty of denying her medical and psychological treatment. Judgment made it clear that religious freedom is one thing, but it does not replace the need to take care of the basic necessities and health of the people in your charge. The Anneliese Michel case continues to be subject of controversy and argument. Medically, she had symptoms of severe temporal lobe epilepsy, psychosis, and probably schizophrenia. These conditions, combined with her devout religious upbringing and the stress of her situation, could have manifested in the disturbing behaviors and hallucinations she experienced. Sleep deprivation, a known trigger for psychosis, may have also contributed to her altered mental states. Some experts say that such a strict upbringing has made Anneliese vulnerable to suggestion and she started acting on her belief of being possessed. They could be suffering from folie à deux, a condition where psychosis is shared. The side effects of her anti-seizure medication likely exacerbated her symptoms. The case brings forth the complexities in diagnosing and treating mental illness, especially when medical explanations are not espoused. While the church is clear to recognize demonic possessions, if anything religiously, it's also quick to use careful discernment and the inclusion of medical and psychological testing. Of course, at the time when Annelie's case took place, there were no such requirements for medical or psychological evaluations using the Roman rite. Some within the church believe Anneliese was genuinely possessed. However, other experts acknowledge that she may have been suffering from both mental illness and epilepsy. As a result of this incident, the German Conference of Bishops established an interdisciplinary commission comprising theologians, psychiatrists, and psychologists, especially to take on the case of possession, exorcism, and the Klingenberg case. She was based in Klingenberg, for the reference. The commission appealed to Rome for a revision of the rite of exorcism because the direct address to the demon was believed to cause harm by reinforcing the patient's conviction of his possession. The Church has also come to stress the importance of objective, detailed investigation of suspected victims of possession, rather than fitting the evidence to the criteria for possession. The case underlined the need for the Church to modernize its approach to such matters, integrating scientific understanding with faith-based practices. Anneliese's story has had a significant impact on popular culture, inspiring films such as The Exorcism of Emily Rose and Requiem. These portrayals often dramatize the conflict between science and faith, sensationalize the events, while raising important questions about our understanding of mental illness and spiritual experiences. The case continues to raise heated debates on the ethics of religious intervention as opposed to medical care and the responsibility of caregivers in case of severe mental distress. It raises crucial questions about when religious beliefs should be challenged in favor of basic healthcare needs. To this day, people visit Anneliese's grave in Klingenberg, often to pray. Some believe that Anneliese was a martyr who died to save lost souls. Her story has become a complex narrative that continues to fascinate, disturb, and challenge our understanding of the human condition. This case is a graphic example of how perilous the misinterpretation of mental illness can be in spiritual terms. It begs many questions regarding the power of belief, the limitations of medical knowledge, and the responsibility of religious leaders and families when looking after those who suffer. While one can believe in demonic possession and still acknowledge that Anneliese did have a mental illness, one thing is for sure, she did need medical and mental health attention. The case also illustrates how the lust for fame and recognition can lead to dangerous situations. One of the priests, Father Alt, perhaps wanted to become famous exorcising and writing books about it. There should also be standardized, professional, and complete way and manner by which to investigate suspected cases of possession, for which the safety and security of the victim must come first. It is of equal importance that the clergy persons do not allow their subjective belief and or emotions to blind them into investigating the case as true possession. And with that, the case of Anneliese Michel remains a postscript, a hunted reminder of the complexities of the human mind and a testament of the enduring power of belief. It is a story that forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our biases, the limitations of our understanding, and the consequences of our choice. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thoughts, prayers, and questions?
Rip. No, thank you. It's quite interesting because, like, I don't think we've ever really done, like, a story about anything that the other one actually knows, like, very well.
Yeah.
Except for maybe the Nike cult thingy in the main one.
Yeah, and
But
the thing I want.
even that wasn't, like, too known. So it's quite interesting to, like, have you cover something that I do genuinely know quite well, but there's still, like, you know it from, like, movies or, like, the recordings. It's nice to just, like, hear the whole story. But my first question is, okay, so at first, when she had those seizures and they diagnosed her with prefrontal cortex epilepsy, presumably she was given, like, medicines for that.
Yeah.
And went to therapy. Did she get better? Because then, like, it just sounds like it progressed and became worse and worse and worse, in which case, why are we sort of still thinking that it was mental illness?
At first, she was given medicine, and it helped with the seizures, but had some other side effects. So it helped, but also, created more problems in a way.
So, like, we think that if it was, like, psychosis and stuff, when she started hearing voices and whatever, we think that that was caused by the side effects of the main medication? Is that the...
I don't think there's, like, agreement what caused that, but possibly, yeah.
No, because that's purely because if we're saying, oh, it was actually mental health and stuff, well, she was treated for it, and then that clearly didn't work. But anyway. Okay, work, sister.
I mean, it's basically a just mix of unfortunate events, being raised in such a family, in such a cultural surrounding, with all the stuff happening in church and everything, and also mental illnesses, and yeah. But again, can I say that I, like, 100% believing the illnesses side of the story? I'm not sure. I don't know.
So, like, what's the percentage split? Like, what do you think?
Oh, it's a tough question. I don't know. I want to believe also in the demons.
You just want to believe in demons.
I just want to believe in the demons, and I want to believe in the exorcisms because I'm fascinated by them, and I just love all the stories about them. So I don't have percentage, but I still have some sort of belief in that, but it's small.
No, it's good, because you know that there can be 100 people in the room, but as long as one of them believes in a demon, the demon can grow.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a weird one. Like, when, obviously, initially, because I was still at, like, a very developmental age, like 16, 17, when I first heard the recordings, there was absolutely zero doubt in my mind that was, like, it was a demon. Like, 100% was a demon. And then I think I watched the movies and stuff. But then again, it's a movie. Like, it's not the story per se as you just told. I was like, no, that has to be schizophrenia and stuff. I don't know. I kind of, just like you, I do want to believe, and I think it's weird if that was just, like, schizophrenia and like psychosis. But then also I do unfortunately have a gut feeling that it was just mental health. I don't know.
Probably it was.
Which is sad, because like
Because
we just want to believe in demons, you guys. We just
yeah.
want to give them a chance. Fast forward 2 weeks, we're both possessed by demons, just screaming on podcast.
Speaking in all the different voices at the same time.
We do that every day anyway, because we're a
Off
bit
the record.
neurologically spicy.
We do that off the record, not on the record,
We're just-
mostly.
Yeah, we're just
Or we
two
just
spicy
delete
sacks.
those parts. But I think what's interesting for me, because I knew the movies, I knew, I guess, dramatized version of the story,
Yeah.
and it focuses more of the demon side.
Yeah.
But this is, I guess, the first time that people who were involved in the story, they were put on trial for the exorcisms. So that's interesting one, and imagine the trial, just not listening to records or anything like that, but just in general discussing that in like legal terms, like
Yeah.
all that. That should be interesting.
Yeah. How do you... Well, I guess one thinning thing is there's a lot of Latin language in courts and stuff, and the demons spoke Latin as well, so they like get each other,
I guess, yeah. You know better about courts, not me, yet.
Yeah, because I'm a criminal.
You are.
I'm just always in courts, you guys. Just a bad girl. No, loved it. Thank you so much. Actually, as he said, relieved that this one was a known one, but it's still really interesting. Perhaps even more so sometimes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Follow us on our socials or social. We do have an email address, so if you have any suggestions of stories that you would like us to cover, please email us at fermentedfiles@gmail.com. I've not created a website just yet.
Do we have email like that?
Yeah.
Is it not
We
a
will
female
now.
one?
No, we will now.
Oh, okay.
I'll just create one really quickly.
So email us.
Or just like DM us.
Yeah,
like
or just
slide into our DMs.
DM and just suggest some good stories. If you, I don't know, maybe give an interview if you had some sort of interesting stuff happen to you.
Yeah.
We would love that. And see you in 2 weeks where Ru will tell a very interesting story. Amazing story. Best of the stories.
Do not be surprised that in 2 weeks' time, Rue will still be severely sick and will sound like a very small man. Yeah. Also, even like hate fan mail is appreciated at this point. We just want to be appreciated and seen.
Yeah.
Just slide into our DMs with hate comments. That's fine.
We will not delete them. We will love them.
Yeah. You'll get an honorable mention in the next episode.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much to our fans.
We will choose the best hate comment.
Yes, we will. Okay, well, thanks. See ya. Oh yeah, and happy Christmas.
Bye.